beautiful game as we know it in England is epitomised for me by one club currently, and that is Luton Town rise to the Premier League. The English football pyramid is one of the greatest depth of clubs and history and heritage, and it's absolutely fantastic, the football heritage and the pyramid of how vast and deep it actually goes from the old conference to the National League now. It's absolutely amazing. And the rise of Luton Town has been absolutely fantastic. And for a football purist like me, for somebody who loves the English game, to see the rise of Luton Town has been absolutely fantastic. They are a great club and they are doing fantastic things. The football in the Premier League, football fans in the Premier League from those top six, the big clubs in the Premier League, would look down at Luton Town and maybe think that they have no right to be in the Premier League. But for someone like me who absolutely loves English football, then their place in the Premier League is there for us all to enjoy and look at, and to just sort of be thankful of the football pyramid of what we've got, and the beautiful game. We see what's going on in Saudi Arabia with all the money going into that country, but you can't buy what we have in this country with our football and how deep that pyramid goes, and it's just absolutely remarkable. So fair play to Luton Town. I absolutely love it. So well done to you all. And for me, did I think Luton Town would get relegated and finish bottom of the Premier League this season? 110% I did. Do I currently, after 9 games, think Luton are going to finish rock bottom and get relegated from the Premier League? No, I do not. Do I think they have a fighting chance of staying up? Yes, I do. From what I have seen so far this season from Luton, I think they've got a chance of doing it. I think if I was a Luton fan, I would be looking at that Premier League table thinking there's 4 teams currently in the mix. Everton are possibly in the mix. Can a couple more get dragged into it? And I think possibly that might happen. So I'd be looking at that table thinking, you know what? We've got a chance here after 9 games. I think as football fans, we all look at the table after 10 games. You can really get an understanding of where you are after 10 games. You can see how your club's going. You can see the identity. You can see what's working and what's not working. And after 10 games, you get a decent barometer of where you are. And looking at that table after 9, they're not doing that bad. So well done to Luton. And I think every time I've watched them so far this season, there's a narrative of what I think the general football fan would perceive Luton to be: defensive, low block, mid block, defending for their lives. But that's not the case. If you actually watch Luton play football, they have a go. They attack. Yes, they're direct. That's the way they play. That's what's got them into the Premier League. Why would they differ from that type of style? But to say that they are defensive and they play with a low block, mid block, and just defend for 90 minutes, that's not the case. The games that I've watched, I've actually been really impressed with how they've played, the way that they've adapted. Getting into the Premier League was amazing for Luton. The journey that they've been on. But when you are in it, when you are living in the Premier League, the mindset changes and you soon realise how difficult it is, that there's very, very fine margins. Games can change in an instance. And I think they've found that out with some of their games. I would praise them and think that Luton are a very good momentum team. I think when the momentum is with them, they get that extra 5%. And I think some of their results, you can see that. You can see that from the Forest game. You could kind of see it in the Burnley game when they got the equaliser. All half, they battered Burnley. They scored, and I was like, they're going to win it. They're going to do it. And then a worldie down the other end. So the fine margin of realising what happens in games in the Premier League. Fulham, I thought they created a lot of chances against Fulham. So there's been games where they've really had a go, and some of them they've been quite unlucky. So, I've just got to applaud them really for the journey that they've been on and everything like that. So it's been mad to see them rise into the Premier League, but to see how they've developed in 9 games where they've probably learnt a lot of things. Fair play to them. And as a football purist like I am, I love English football. I love the pyramid. I love everything about it. It's great to see. And I think fans of, say, the so-called Big Six would look down at them and think that they shouldn't be in this league because they're Luton and the stadium's small. But for me, it's fantastic and fair play to them. But they have a very difficult game on the weekend. An Aston Villa side that are like firing on all cylinders. Absolutely a joy to watch. A remarkable team under Unai Emery. We are playing some of the best football that I have seen in my lifetime. And hearing Unai Emery say that he wants to win the Champions League with Aston Villa is absolutely amazing. For him to be that bullish and come out with that statement is just fantastic and shows the ambition of our club. So, like what we always do, we're going to show stats. We're going to show Luton's style of play, their passing networks. We're going to show clips of where we think Aston Villa can hurt Luton, etc. And we'll have a real deep dive into the game ahead. Luton fans, you might want to look away for the next couple of minutes because I've got some things that would frighten any football fan facing Aston Villa. So we've got Aston Villa at a single club in the Premier League, the minimum of 20 games. We are now at the 2 points per game ratio. For me, 2 points per game over the course of a 38 Premier League season would get you Champions League football. So if Villa continue with this, then we are going to be right at the top end of the Premier League this season. Most wins in the Premier League since Unai Emery's first match as Aston Villa boss in November last year. Man City 81, Arsenal 74, Liverpool 71, Aston Villa 78. We have an even bigger picture here now on reflection of this whole table. We've got Brighton with 60 points, Newcastle with 63, United with 67. So you can really gauge how good of a job Unai Emery is doing at Aston Villa. And this is what I was saying about Luton. If I was a Luton fan looking at the Premier League table now, after 9 games, this would give me confidence that you can try and stay up in the Premier League. If you can bring Forest or Brentford or a team like that into the mix as well, or even Wolves, that might help, then you've got a great chance of trying to do something very, very special this season. The form guide this season, Villa, very green, 4 wins in there in the last 5 games and a draw. Luton's great form in the last 5 games, a win and 2 draws. Interestingly for Luton, that none of their wins this season have come at Kenilworth Road. They've all been away from home. So that really needs to change. If you look at how Nottingham Forest survived last season, a lot of their points came at home. They had a real poor away record. So if you can try and sort that home record out a little bit, that will help massively with their chances of survival. If we take a look at the head-to-head in the Premier League era, generally for Villa fans, these aren't that great to look at. But in this one, history will be written on Sunday. This season, Aston Villa are 5th, Luton are 17th. 6 wins for Villa, 1 for Luton. 2 draws and 6 losses for Luton. And 2 losses and 1 draw for Villa. Villa are averaging 2.6 goals per game. Luton are just below 1. Average goals conceded, 1.9 for Luton and 1.4 for Aston Villa. If you look at that ratio combined, Luton are conceding nearly 2 a game. Villa are scoring nearly 3 a game. Surely the metrics point to a Villa victory. We have a look at how Luton lined up in their last game. There was a 5 at the back to start and then transitioned into a 4 at the back. They've got pace out wide with Chedozi, Carlton Morris, who we'll get onto in a second. He's a really good striker. And then they've got this combination of Chong on the left. Is it going to be Barkley? There's talk with Luton fans of Barkley now coming into the side. Chong worked his way into the side. I think you can see this sometimes with players where if they're not in the side, their sub appearances, they do well. And then when they get their starts, they don't actually do as good as what their appearances were. So, yeah, it's a balancing act, but this is how they lined up. I've been really impressed with Tom Lockyer. I think he needed to have a really good, solid season for Luton, and he currently is due. He's a threat off set pieces. The spine of their team is really good as well. Lockyer, Nakamba, and Morris. You can see their average positions against Nottingham Forest. The narrative, like I said, of them being defensive, low block, mid block, doesn't exist. They have a go. They're attacking, and they try and be direct and get their forwards into the game as much as they can, which should give Aston Villa a chance to exploit. You can see their passing network against Forest isn't really a great network at all. It's very congested. It's very scrappy. The right-hand side is non-existent with Burke and Lockyer. So, yeah, it's not the best. You can see spaces behind Doherty. Central midfield, big gaps in there as well. So it's going to be interesting to see Aston Villa try and exploit this. Their danger creation came centrally and more towards the right-hand side against Forest. They did have 3 big chances and missed 1. Passing-wise, 361 passes away to Forest with 70% possession. That is not great either, the percentage of accurate passes. So, you know, there's areas there, if Villa press Luton, they are going to turn over the ball and give Aston Villa the ball back. And as a possession-based side that we are, that would give us more match dominance. The match based on expected threat, first half, Forest played pretty well, and then Luton came into it in the second half. You can see the shots by XG in that game as well. Forest at the top, Luton at the bottom. Luton finishing the game strong, but there was quite a big XG dominance from Nottingham Forest. The shot map you can see as well. So it is going to be a difficult game because every game in the Premier League is a difficult game. Every game in the Premier League has its own sort of permutations that go into it. We are on a fantastic run at home, and we don't want it to end. So we're going to go now, and we're going to have a look at some things that I have highlighted on how I think Villa can get some joy in this game against Luton Town. So, as you can see at the start of the game, there's quite a few gaps for me in this Luton side. I think they try and defend the 18-yard box, inside the 18-yard box with bodies when they are defending, but it does look at times quite chaotic. And when I mean chaotic, they tend to get drawn to the ball. And I'll show you this in a little bit more detail here. So we've got a Nottingham Forest player with the ball at his feet that's just above the ref. And if you have a look at how Forest attacked in this game, it was out wide. Out wide, they were left 1v1. And this would be a big problem facing Aston Villa if you're going to leave players like Diaby, Zaniolo, Bailey 1v1. You can see here as well that you've got a line of Luton players who are, for me, possibly 5 yards the wrong side. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 players who, if that ball goes into one of these players, then they are going to have massive players on transition. So playing through this line here of Luton players and getting into these areas is something that Villa actually do really well with our system. So that is an area I think we could possibly exploit. When I say about them looking quite chaotic in the 18-yard box. You've got players here, here, and here who are they're being drawn to that area. And if you look at this area here, the cutback, you can try and get a cutback here. You've got sort of a player that's on that back post as well. You've got late players arriving. The cutbacks as well are something that Villa are doing quite well at the minute. And that would be an area that I think Villa would look to exploit as well. There's plenty of bodies in the box, but I'm not sure that they defend these positions very well at all. Again, you've got the same sort of image where this player is looking to get a near post run. You've got the player that's coming into the box there as well. So to get into these type of opportunities where you're looking to get into that byline there, I think that's an area that Villa are going to try and hurt Luton. Again, a ball over the top. The ball went to Gibbs-White, an area that, again, when you're looking at it and you're thinking that they're going to be quite defensive, their line is quite high. So there's areas for Villa to try and exploit there as well. And then you've got this area again, another 1v1 where you're trying to get to that byline. I don't think Chong defends that great from what I've seen of Chong. So that's another one. We've got another 1v1 here where if you can go into the box there, if you can get to that byline there, you know, there's not much defensive cover in these areas for for Luton, sorry. So again, these are all areas that I have highlighted. But they do break in transition. They do get bodies forward. You can see here the ball has been won for Luton. And these players here will look to try and get into the box as well. And then here are where some of the goals came. Again, the ball has been lost by Luton on transition. They're all scrambling to try and get back. And you've got a 2v2 if you look at it, and they did score from this one as well. So their line is high as well. And then we've got the goals that Luton scored at the end of the goal. Adebayo came on, this player here, and him and Carlton Morris are a massive, massive threat. They were a great partnership last season. Here, something that you don't really want to be doing. You don't want to be getting that tight to him, and then he's able to come down, bring the ball down and score the equaliser for Luton. So in these areas, defensively, you've got to be switched on. It's very, very bad defending from Nottingham Forest, because if you look here, you know, if you actually look at how this goal has come about, there's one Luton player that's looking to get into there, but really they should be defending that line a lot better. And, you know, if you're going to get touch tight to a physical player, you may lose the ball. But I do want to touch on Luton's forward line in Carlton Morris. I've been massively impressed with him. I really like him. I think he's quick, he's athletic, he can finish. Can he finish every chance he gets? No. He had a big chance against Fulham, but, you know, he's got 3 goals so far this season. He's going to be a threat. The physical battle they like, if they go with the 2, Adebayo and Carlton Morris, then, you know, it's going to be a difficult game. And, you know, they're going to want to look to get in behind. If Villa do try and go with that high line, then, you know, they might want to try and exploit that. But Villa's high line, you know, it's improved massively in recent games. And, you know, I don't really see, it hasn't really been a problem for the last few games. So, you know, I think Villa are just going to look to impose our style on the game and do what we sort of do, really. So, you know, if I do have a look at how they may sort of line up in this game, Luton. So, you know, if it is going to be that 4, we know that they don't really sit with a low block. So their shape of their team is going to look something similar to this. But the area that sort of I think Villa can really try and exploit is down this right-hand side. This right-hand side here, we know that the fullback wants to go forward at times as well. I don't really trust Chong's defensive work. So if it's Diaby or Bailey on that sort of right-hand side, who's 1v1 up against the fullback, then I think that's an area that we can massively exploit. I think another area that we can exploit is in behind this midfield. And you saw from the graphics and the shape of the areas where, you know, Villa would want to be looking to sort of get in these type of areas here, where I think Villa can try and look to get some. Let's get rid of that. Let's get that. Right, let me try and draw it because it's not working. But in these areas here are where I think Villa can try and get some joy in, sort of where McGinn or a Zaniolo would play. In behind these lines is, I think, an area that we can look to try and exploit as well. We do play with that box midfield. Dougie Luiz is going to have an important role, because we know that if you can get to the byline, if you can go 1v1 and get sort of a pullback, you can get Dougie Luiz on the edge of that box, an area where he's really been sort of thriving in recent games. I think he's going for 7 goals in a row at Villa Park now for Aston Villa. But then on the other hand, an area that we have got to sort of watch out for is if Adebayo, if he plays, or if it's Carlton Morris who's going to be trying to get in behind this defence. If they are going to try and rough us up and get knockdowns, then, you know, it's an area where Morris is going to want to get in behind as well. So, you know, each game, like I say, different permutations. But I think if Villa can play their natural game, if Villa can get a foothold in this game and play our possession-based football, then I have no worries in my mind that Aston Villa are going to win this game, and we're going to increase our record. I think Villa are in great form at the minute. We're in great shape. I think we go into this game full of confidence and just trying to embrace it, really, trying to embrace where we are, what we're doing. So, yeah, it's just fantastic stuff. So I am now going to do the score predictions. So we haven't really done one of these in recent weeks because of our schedule, but I am going to do the score predictions on this show as well now. So if you do want to do yours, then you can do. Let me just log into it. So get your score predictions for this game in the comment section down below. Luton fans, if you are watching, I know you've been watching a lot of content recently, being in the Premier League like you would. So let me know what your thoughts are on the game. How do you see it going? There's going to be 3,000 Luton fans at Villa Park on Sunday, so it should be a great atmosphere as well. So we'll do the score predictions now then. So I'll share the screen with you. Here we go then. So we've got Friday night football. So if any of you haven't done this so far this season, you can join our predictions league on our website, utvpodcast.co.uk. Go under Social Hoodman and score predictions, and I'll show you the league table in a second as well. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 Tottenham win in Palace and Spurs. Then you'll go to the next day, and we've got Chelsea against Brentford. Chelsea have kind of turned the corner, but I'm going to go with a 1-1 in this. Burnley against Bournemouth. How'd you predict this one? We'll go 2-1 Burnley. We'll go 2-1 Burnley. Sheffield United, Arsenal. I think it'll be a massive Arsenal win. I think this will be a close game, you know, Wolves and Newcastle. I'll go 1-1 with that. We've got West Ham, Everton. I'm going to go 2-1 West Ham. Villa, Luton. I'm going to go 3-0 Villa. I'm going to go 3-0 Villa. Luton, Brighton, Fulham, sorry. We'll go 2-0 Brighton. Liverpool, Forest will go 3-0. United City, I'm gonna go 1-1. I'm gonna go 1-1 in that. We've got any Monday night football. So no Monday night football. So my score predictions are done. the league table at the minute in our leaderboard for our score predictions look like this if it wants to load. We've got Matthew Watts top on 88 points. I've dropped, so I have. I was like top 3. I was top at one point. I'm in 14th place. So I'm in 14th. So that's the leaderboard. So if you do want to get involved, just go over to our website and input your teams and results on what you think is going to happen. So cheers everyone for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Up the Villa.